Welcome, everyone, to the Influential Women in Northeast Indiana live chat. My name is Lisa Esquivel-Long. I'm editor of Greater Fort Wayne Business Weekly, and I'll be serving today as your moderator. For the next 2 hours, you'll have the opportunity to hear from 11 interesting and diverse women who have made an impact in their career field, as well as their communities, many of whom have overcome difficult odds to do so. We believe their stories will inspire you and perhaps give you some ideas for how you might climb the business ladder or start a business or go back to school for additional professional education, all while juggling a family, a home, and your life. And we think you'll also find that you may want to do some business with their companies or get involved in supporting their charitable causes. You can read more about the influential women in the special section that we published last Friday in Business Weekly on October 25th. Copies are included in sales of Business Weekly, which are available at 600 West Main Street in downtown Fort Wayne. We've divided our honorees into 2 groups. In the first hour, you'll have a chance to hear from Amy Ross from First Federal Savings Bank of Angola, Angel Suttle from Suttle Strategies, Inc., Ciara Bolling from Allendale Treatment, Erica Hyatt from Breasty Boxes, Nikki Quintana from the Fort Wayne Metropolitan Human Relations Commission, and Shelly Williams from the Noble County Republican Party. They'll each tell you a little bit about their careers and how they got started. And then we'll talk about some of the challenges that women face as they work outside the home, sometimes in fields which have traditionally been more male-dominated. As you watch, feel free to use the Q&A feature, not the chat, but the Q&A feature to submit any questions you have for the women. We will answer the questions at the end of the session. At the end of the hour, we'll take a quick break and then hear from 6 more honorees in that second hour. Those are going to be Carly Ingalls from Carly Ingalls Piano, Jana Debusk from Play Vox by Nice, Jess Hopkins from First Merchants Bank, Kate Miller from Star Financial Bank, and Sarah Schenkel from Katz, Sapper, and Miller. And today we don't have Judy. Judy Rowe was also one of our influential women from Remax Results, but she couldn't be with us today. So let's begin with the first group. I'd like to introduce Amy Ross. Amy, can you introduce yourself?
Of course. Hello, everyone. I'm Amy Ross from First Federal Savings Bank of Angola. I've been with the bank 37 years now. I'm born and raised in Steuben County, and it's just an honor to be with you all today.
All right, great. Thank you. Okay, and next up we have Angel Suttle. Angel, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Angel Suttle. I am an innovation instructor at AMP Lab as well as CEO of Suttle Strategies, a marketing and branding firm. In addition, I've also branched out into EV and energy consulting, as well as sustainability consulting. So I'm so honored to have this opportunity to be a 2024 influential woman.
Wonderful. Great. Thanks for being here. Okay. And next up, we have Ciara Bolling. Am I pronouncing that right, Ciara? Please introduce yourself.
Yes, you are. Hi, guys. My name is Ciara Bolling. I'm with Allendale Treatment and Fort Wayne Recovery. Such an honor to be a part of this group. I'm excited to get to know everybody. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. And next up, we have Erica Hyatt. Erica, can you introduce yourself? Do we have Erica? Do we have Erica here today?
I'm here. Sorry, I was on mute.
Yay!
I'm Erica Hyatt with Breasty Boxes. I'm a breast cancer survivor and turned that journey into an opportunity to give back to breast cancer patients in the greater Fort Wayne area. So I'm privileged to be here today.
Love it. Love the pink. So thanks for bringing some pink color, pink power today. So great. All right. Next up, we have Nikki Quintana. Tell us about yourself, Nikki.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nikki Quintana. I am the Executive Director of the Fort Wayne Metropolitan Human Relations Commission. Most people know us as Fort Wayne Metro or Metro, and we are the local civil rights agency here in Fort Wayne. And I've been with the agency for the last 12 years, I guess a little over 12 years, and I'm honored to be here and get to know all of you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay. And last but not least, we have Shelly Williams. Tell us about yourself.
Sure. I'm Shelly Williams from Noble County. I have partnered with my husband in a business called Airframe Components by Williams. We repair airplane wings for small aircraft, general aviation, and some commercial items as well. We're FAA certified repair station and a European agency certified repair station. And then this little hobby I had of politics for the last 25 years kind of grew into this huge part-time job, and I'm now the Republican chairwoman of Noble County.
Wonderful. All right. Okay. Thank you to all of you. So let's get into it. We're going to start with our first question. And the first one I'd like to pose to our panel is this. Our core purpose of this event is to inspire women to progress in their career, to hear how other women have become influential in their businesses or their communities, and to expand our audience's network of potential mentors. So please take a minute or so to talk about how you were able to become successful, what your greatest triumphs have been, and what your professional journey has looked like so far. So let's start with you, Amy Ross.
So my drive and determination has made me successful in my career, I believe. I also was a true believer in me. I wanted to strive to be valuable and a contributing member to my organization. I have an investigative mind, I always have, and so I'm always looking for ways to do things better, to be more efficient. And I'm one of those people that if someone tells me you can't do that or that won't work, I say, you know what, try me. I will find a way. That's just me. That's how I've always been. You could probably ask my parents and they would tell you the same thing from early childhood. As far as my professional journey, I started working at the bank when I was 19 as a teller. And at that time, tellers were responsible for many different jobs in the bank. We did back office processing, in-depth customer service processes, everything but loans, really. And it's much different than kind of what the teller function is today. You know, banking has evolved so much that everything has become more departmentalized, if you will. But at that time, being a teller and doing all those things, it gave me the basis of learning how the bank functions and different aspects. And I expanded on that knowledge as I was promoted throughout the years to the current position that I have now, managing the operations department of the bank. As far as, I guess, the triumphs that I've had, I look at achievements in a way of leading by example. So to me, probably the greatest achievement I have in my career is successful employees that are here. If we're able to promote somebody from within the bank to another position because of the work that they put in, it really makes me proud because I believe I've had something to do with that success that they're recognizing, and just, you know, holding myself accountable for things that happen, decisions I make. You know, there's been failures along the way, and that's okay. That is what gives you content to move forward, and you learn from your mistakes and do things better the next time around.
Great. All right, great. Yeah, we all have to make a few mistakes to learn some things along the way. So, okay, thank you, Amy. Okay, Angel Suttle, same question to you.
Well, my journey actually began a long time ago as a account executive and brand strategist with Indiana's News Center. It was then called Indiana's News Center, now 21 Alive, the NBC ABC affiliate. So fresh out of college, was able to hit the ground running in a creative and marketing lane and space, which then kind of was the catalyst for the rest of my career. Segueing into radio, I was a top radio personality with Adams Radio Group, and was the only minority woman to have a #1 radio show in the middays on B96.9. From there, I was also working very hands-on and collaboratively with a lot of great clients based here in Fort Wayne, as well as nationally, helping them with their brand strategy, their social media development, business curation, event management. I've also had great partnerships with entities like Netflix, BET, MTV, and the NBA, helping with different facets of their business and brand identities. From there, I was able to just lived such an amazing entrepreneurial journey that I was able to kind of not put myself in a box. And I think for me, that's one of my biggest career triumphs is if there's something that I've been interested in, I've been able to pursue it. And that even leads me now to current day where I've been able to create an EV enthusiast group of women who drive electric vehicles. And I've branded that entity and it's called Black Girls with Teslas. And we are a community of 8,000 women nationwide who all drive sustainably. And that has led me to continue to be an adult learner. I've recently been accepted into the Harvard Sustainability and Innovation Program so that I am a thought leader in that space and being able to partner with some amazing entities to really narrow down the messaging when it comes to energy efficiency, EV charging infrastructure, and equity when it comes to sustainability overall has really just been something that, no pun intended, has charged me up lately. And, I also have a passion for youth. I think that my opportunity to be an innovation instructor at AMP Lab, which is such a forward thinking high school program here in Fort Wayne, located on the Electric Works campus, has really just allowed me to not only be an innovator myself, but lend some of that wisdom and allow students to then tap into, bigger than life concepts and work with real life business and branding opportunities and have think tanks and do work-based learning opportunities as well. So MLab is a place like no other. I feel if I was going to teach, it would be the ideal opportunity and place for me to be an educator because these students are really honing the next generation of greatness. And so I'm just honored to be a part of that story for them.
Wonderful. Well, you certainly are blazing a trail. Were there ever any kind of obstacles in your way that you had to deal with, or?
Certainly. All industries that I've navigated through, media in particular, radio, and now even the energy efficiency and technology realms are male dominated industries. And, me being, a minority and a woman, I kind of have had some challenges when it comes to making sure, though I've been a communicative specialist for the duration of my career, oftentimes having my voice heard in rooms where there's no one else that looks like me has been a challenge that I've had to overcome on many occasions. And I take that charge and I blaze those paths and I break through those ceilings. And I also lift as I climb. So I'm always looking back and lending back to my expertise to, young women that are following in my footsteps.
Wonderful. Well, it certainly sounds like you are on a trail there. So wonderful. All right. Thanks, Angel. All right,
Thank you.
Ciara Bolling.
Hi, ladies. So forgive me, I'm coming over a cold. So, I really appreciate this opportunity, and it's something that I was really uncomfortable with at first because my background is not something that I went to college and was studying and was going to become something. I was a heroin addict for the majority of my youth. Before that, I was deeply into alcohol and opiates. I probably started my escapism journey at around 11 years old with an eating disorder and just continued to spiral out of control from there. I got sober when I was 21 years old, and during that, I had attempted to go to college for psychology. I thought, if I can get to know what is going on inside of somebody else's brain, then maybe I'll be able to figure out what's wrong with me. And that was the goal, but I wasn't able to maintain, obviously. And during some of that, though, I was introduced to the world of working with those in an acute psychiatric unit. And so I knew that I enjoyed that. I lost that position, obviously, due to the way that I was living. And when I lost that, I kind of felt like I lost everything because that was something that had given me purpose. It was one of those things that I realized I couldn't help myself, but I was helping other people. And when I lost that, due to overdosing at work, I felt like I didn't have any purpose to live for anymore. During that, though, I realized that that was something I wanted to continue to pursue. I knew that I wanted to be in something that had to do with mental health, something that had to do with psychology, something. And I was able to get sober and narrow my pathway and now I work in the addiction field. So a lot of what I do is telling my story, relating to other individuals that have been there, relating to other young women. Getting sober at 21, I've never stepped foot into a bar, but I have been homeless and have lived an entirely other life. So a lot of what I do has been working with women that have established themselves. I have a woman on my team. Her name is Jamie Murphy, and I pleaded with her when I first started. She's in the HR world and she's all professional and like always looks like she's so put together and all of these things. And I pleaded with her, like, please make me into a young lady. That's what I want. If you can help me with that. And so then she introduced me to, and she said, if you're ready to take on the challenge, then I am ready to work with you. And she has just been able to mold me into someone that I am honored to be able to say is influential. That's still hard for me to swallow, to think that other people are looking up to me. But I've been able to work with Greater Fort Wayne as well, and those women like Brenda Gerber, and just having the opportunity to look up to them and even be in the same room with you ladies, to be in the same room with just other women that people look up to. It's been such an honor. So thank you.
Right. Well, you've certainly shown that people can overcome obstacles and even use some of those things in their background to really move forward and help other people. So great. Thank you. Thank you, Ciara, for sharing that. So next we have Erica Hyatt.
I'm kind of similar to Ciara, where being even considered in this is, my story also comes from, I guess, an area of suffering. What makes us successful is I took a breast cancer diagnosis and truly have pivoted to use it for good. I remember, a couple of weeks after I was diagnosed, everybody kept asking me, what am I afraid of? And I remember very vividly saying, I'm not actually afraid of this disease. I'm a mom. I'm more worried about the logistics, but I don't necessarily think I'm afraid of tackling something scary like this. I think I, picked myself up and held my head high and paved my way through. And I think that very much has been a very similar mindset about how Breasty Boxes has come to be. I don't take no very easily. I just figure, fine, you tell me no, I'll find somebody yes. And if I don't know how to get there, I'm going to figure it out. Whether I struggle a little bit and have to be more of a visionary, whether it's using resources in the community. Angel, like Amp Lab, we got to partner with Amp Lab last year. And I think there's something very profound about being very independent, but asking for help. It's truly humbling. But I think we can't do it all, right? We can't balance it all. We can't do it all. But finding help and using other people's strengths and resources to help us, like in an idea of collaboration, has really gotten us where we are as an organization today. We're only 2 years old. We've had 2 fundraising events that have raised over $125,000. We've been able to be citywide with our boxes, but it's not because of me. It's because of all of the people who have listened to our mission and, truly helped us. And I'd say that's one of our triumphs too, is to me, it's bittersweet when people say like, what has been so amazing about Breasty Boxes? And I'm like, truthfully, I would love to stop giving out boxes. We give out boxes to patients when they're diagnosed with breast cancer, which is severely traumatic. I would love to not have to do that. But I think a triumph is seeing that something very tangible we've done has built something very relationship based. And there's some melancholy to that. I always say I've watched a 12-year survivor connect with a woman who just got diagnosed like 2 days later or 2 days prior. And watching that relationship and that mentorship. I think our triumph is, as an organization, that we've made people not feel so afraid, so isolated, and so scared. And I think that's very profound with something that is a life changer. So, but I haven't been able to do it by myself. It's taken a village. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, that's recognizing the mentorship and really the working with collaboration that really makes things successful. So thank you.
Yep.
Okay, next we have Nikki Quintana. Oh, sorry, we
I'm
can't.
on mute, sorry.
Oh, there we
So I believe that I've been able to become successful by setting goals and being intentional about what I want to do. Where do I want to see myself in 5 years and 10 years and 20 years? It really started, in, elementary, middle school, simple tasks like building a dream board and really thinking and dreaming about what I want to do. So for me, it was about goal setting, really working hard to achieve those goals. My parents instilled that to me in me, and my dad always, said, hey, as a Latina, as a woman, you are going to have to work twice as hard. And he was just really upfront about that. So I knew I was going to have to work really hard to achieve goals. And then ultimately make sure that I'm surrounding myself with people that lift me up. And I am very, very blessed to have an amazing support system that I would not be able to accomplish half the things, a quarter of the things that I'm able to do without them. And so I have an amazing husband, parents, extended family who step in. And, through the process, we can set the plans and we can make the goals, but we know that there are things that come up and it doesn't always go as planned. So being able to really rely on my support system and lean on them when there's that self-doubt or that failure, or that setback has been really key and crucial to what I've been able to do, both personally and professionally. I would say some of my greatest triumphs are being the first in my family to get a bachelor's degree, first in my family to become an attorney, and still the only attorney in my family. I'm hoping to inspire some others in our family. But ultimately being able to do work that I'm really passionate about. You come out and you have an idea of what you want to do. Not everyone is so lucky to say, I'm able to work in a field that I'm passionate about, that I'm excited to go to work and I'm happy to go to work every single day. So that's really huge for me. And along the way, so I've been with Metro, again, local civil rights agency, for a little over 12 years. I started there as an investigator. So I've been able to work myself through the ranks. I started as an investigator, became the staff attorney, and then I'm now the executive director. And in my role now, I get to help build the team. And so also being able to work with an amazing team has been such a triumph as well. And then with my work at Metro, I've been able to really focus on projects that I'm passionate about. We recently did the Equity for All study, which was basically just a survey to understand our community, understand people's perceptions on discrimination, on unfairness. And so taking that on and being able to then present on that information to our community, use it as a tool and make a positive impact it's been awesome. So there's a lot of projects in working at Metro that I'm able to take on and really do the work that I love. So, yep.
Great. Thanks, Nikki. Thank you. Okay. And Shelly Williams.
Always the last one. They always say women have, or everyone usually has 3 different careers in their lifetime and major career changes. And I do believe I've hit about all of them. I'm a little older, of course, but I started off with a master's degree in teaching. I was a school administrator, wanted to be a school administrator, but I had children, got those calls the day and the week that my children were born. My first daughter was born. I got 3 offers and it was just so hard to say, nope, I'm going to take some time off with them. So my second career was being a mom for a few years. Third career, I really wanted to go back into teaching. And my husband said I really could use help in the business. And it really afforded me the opportunity to be flexible with my kids in the business. We raised them here at our shop, basically. But one of my greatest triumphs is building that business from 3 employees up to we're best in the world at what we do. We've heard that over and over. We're very niche market and we keep our niche small, so we are good at what we do. So that's been interesting to see. And then of course the politics. I've always been, my parents modeled for me a desire to be in the public service of some kind and to give back to your community. And so I was selected as one of the 20 women across the state of Indiana for the Lugar series. It's a Republican-based training that we were able to really concentrate on excellence in public service. And through that, they really made it known that you're not just here and you have a seat at the table just for yourself. You're here at the table to share, take what you know and share it with other people. And so I've always had that trickle effect in my head, like a stone in the water, where your influence trickles out to others, that I don't keep what I know to myself. And after a while, you just become, if you're known and become a constant bearer of good news or truth, or they can get good information from you, then that influence, I think, just comes naturally. People want and seek your opinion because they know they can count on you to be constant and be professional, discreet sometimes. And then also just, you know that they can count on you to have their best interests at heart too. I love mentoring my guys at my shop too, just to find the best thing that fits them. And I think that I think I'm among women in this group here on this podcast now that are just amazing in their own right. And they know, we all know, it takes a village and it takes a good, keen eye to pick the next talent and to encourage people to use their talents wisely.
All right, thank you. Okay. All right, now our second question is this. Most women in business or who are in leadership roles have run into roadblocks. So whether that be struggling with a work-life balance, feeling like people don't believe in you, or finding that you don't believe in yourself, or it could be something completely different. So would you share with us some of the trials you have faced and how have you gotten past them? So let's start again with Amy Ross.
So I believe you have challenges no matter what, no matter where you're at in life, in your career. You know, a couple of the challenges, I guess, that I feel like I faced were, you know, starting at the bank so early, 19. I actually got my degree while I was working and while I was raising children, my son specifically. My daughter came on a little later in life after I had already had my degree, but you know, that balance of working and trying to get ahead and, you know, raising that family, going to school. But my husband was, you know, super supportive and helped through that period. The other thing I would say, probably one of my biggest challenges was realizing that you have to have a voice. You have to use that voice. If you believe in something, you need to say it, speak up. If you disagree with a change in a process or a direction, speak your mind. And everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and that deserves to be heard. Just because my opinion differs from others doesn't mean that I'm wrong or that they're wrong. And it just really took me some time to find that courage to speak up when I had a different opinion than maybe what my coworkers or managers had, because sometimes you just don't know what kind of feedback is going to be there, how that is going to affect you in life or your career if you don't necessarily agree with maybe the powers that be or with a process that you want into place, and somebody else doesn't want to do that, and just basically being very positive and about what you want to do and sticking with that and showing people, just give me a chance, listen to what I have to say, it can work. And that was something I would say definitely was my biggest challenge in overcoming, not necessarily going with the flow, but finding my own direction.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Amy. Okay. And next, let's go to Angel Suttle.
I think for me, when it comes to obstacles, I try to shift my mindset and view them as opportunities. So naturally, being a parent is, I think, one of the most difficult and rewarding roles that any woman can have. But ultimately, it does sometimes put you in a position to put your goals, dreams, and aspirations on the back burner. And so, in efforts to make sure my son had a great opportunity in education, went to the best schools, my daughter as well, My son ultimately graduated from Florida State University, is now getting his master's in cybersecurity. So overcoming being, navigating through divorce and being a single mom, that for me is an obstacle that became an opportunity to just make sure that my children can be the most well-rounded individuals and impactful individuals that society has ever seen. And so I challenged myself in that way to put their goals and necessities ahead of mine, which is why now I'm circling back through fighting through all of the doubts and the insecurities of going back to school, especially to the number one university in the world, Harvard University, has really allowed me to not really let the doubts define me as a woman and as a mother and as an entrepreneur and as a game changer. I think the women that are all on this panel have changed the game and tilted the industry that they're in some way. And so for me, I think that doesn't come easily. I think that comes with its own built-in set of challenges. They may look different, but they all take the same level of resilience to overcome them. And so questioning if I was good enough to get into Harvard, questioning if as a single mom, I was going to be able to, produce amazing children that were going to be benefits and assets to society. But just learning to grow through those instances and seeing those obstacles as opportunities is really what has been that, tenacity that's pushed me through when things just seemed a little bit more bleak than beautiful.
Wonderful. Sounds like you've had some great successes there. Okay, thank you. All right, next, Ciara Bolling.
So I struggled with a lot of imposter syndrome right in the beginning, and I remember meeting with the Greater Fort Wayne women's group and talking to those ladies. We were like all in like a little conference room, and my boss was in the room with us at the beginning, and I'm trying to act all professional and sit up straight and do all of the things. And as soon as he left, I just started crying. And now it's just like a room full of women, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I am so scared." And they all just wrapped me with so much love and just spoke to me the way that women speak to each other, where they uplifted me. They were very accepting of the fact that I was emotional, which was something that I didn't know that I was allowed to be. I didn't know that I could be in a masculine role, but still be feminine. I didn't know that that was something that everybody was challenged to balance. That was an incredible obstacle for me to overcome. I had a career before that I had a supervisor that I think at the time I was not happy with, but now I'm so grateful that he told me that no one would ever, that I was not special and that no one would ever pay me for having charisma. And I am very grateful that in that moment he lit a fire under me to prove that he was wrong and that people do care about what I have to say and that I'm not speaking from a place of ego or anything other than just I want to be authentic and have conversations with people that are also in the dark and scared. And I didn't know that I could be vulnerable like that and still be professional. So I think it's just that balance. That's been my biggest challenge of balancing who I am as a sensitive individual and becoming a professional young lady.
Well, yeah, sometimes those bad bosses teach us how not to be, how a manager should not be. So great that you've overcome that. Thank you. Okay, and next we have Erica Hyatt.
I joke one of my taglines is like perfectly imperfect, or I strive for average, which is not necessarily the case. But I was a stay-at-home mom. I was in education for over 10 years and ended up being a stay-at-home mom. We have 4 young kids. So balance to me is non-existent. Sometimes I thrive in chaos and sometimes I do the best I can do. So I don't think that is so much a factor in my professional life. I also have the gift of being a founder and kind of running our organization, and it benefits our family life. Will it always be like that? I don't know. We'll figure it out as we get there. And another thing kind of talking about that is there's always going to be somebody who's going to tell you no. There's always going to tell somebody you can't do this. And kind of like what Ciara had said, like to me, that's just an opportunity to prove somebody wrong. While they're probably not easy words to hear, it allows you to sit back and reflect and pivot. And I do that breakfast, lunch, and dinner, morning, noon, and night. I guess my challenges that I've kind of faced along the way are a little bit different. We're a nonprofit organization, so we run based on funding and donations and grants and things like that. And so that has to be a motivator for us in a way to be able to continue our mission. And as we grow and are growing exponentially, that leaves the behind the scenes of the infrastructure to be a true challenge that I face on a daily basis. I am one person behind the scenes with an army of volunteers, but there's only so many hours in a day that I can do all the things that are my responsibility and then continue to grow us. And so I think that's where I really have learned to be very strategic, where I have found where I need to be balanced, in that area. And also, again, ask for help in resources that are by far not a strength for me. I abhor technology. I am a relationship-based kind of a person, but the gift is that there are so many other people that thrive in technology and can help me. So I think, my setbacks, challenges, and struggles I've just gotten really intentional about where I need to ask for help, where I want to learn, where I do need to be dependent on people, which is super scary. That's trust, that's control. But also, like, again, you can't do it all. So you find your village, you find your people who believe in your mission, believe in you, that want to help you grow and your mission grow. So it's not in a pretty pink box, but you figure it out as you go, and you find people that want to help you figure it out as you go. So that's what I got.
Wonderful, Eric. Thank you. Okay, and next, Nikki Quintana. We'll make sure she's.
I would say one thing for me is that I think I've struggled with, but have gotten better at, and I'm still a work in progress, is work-life balance. That has always been a tough one. When I first started my career, I think I said yes to every single thing. And then as life has changed, got married, now had one kid, have two kids, I realized I had to become way more intentional about what I was saying yes to. And then really give myself grace to say, it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. There's probably, someone told me, I think it was Brenda Gervinsa actually does a training on this. And she said, if you say no, there's still a list of probably 3, 4, 5 individuals after that they have. And so they're just going to move on to the next person. So that was really big for me, is understanding that now with so many hours in the day and my responsibilities and what I have to get done, really being intentional to pick things that I'm passionate about, and focusing in on really setting boundaries as well. And my husband's really good at that too. Like, me and him have this rule: when we get to the house, it's like phones off, we're unplugging and making sure that we're really focused on the kids. Because as a working mother, and I'm sure all of you understand, your day, you're really busy, you're giving back, you're doing things on the side. And so by the time you get home, you only have a few hours. And so I've made it a point to really shut down and just be focused on the kids for those few hours when I'm able to be with them, and then really make sure we have our weekend scheduled and plans set up so that I can have that special time with them. I've also been able to, as the kids have gotten older, Joshua, my son, is 10 now, I've been able to work ways to integrate them into the work as well. So if we're at a fair, he's coming with. If we're at an event in the evening, if he's interested, he can come, he will come. And then it allows me to expose him to some of that cool stuff and the things that I'm passionate about as well. And I think in the end, it's also about just giving yourself grace throughout the process. And the only other thing I would add is that sometimes I can be a bit of an overthinker. I think that's the lawyer in me, being very analytical. And so when things don't go as planned, or there may be a failure or a setback, I sometimes have the inclination that I want to kind of sit on it and really ponder it for a really long time. And a tip that I use for that now, so that I don't get stuck in what I call analysis paralysis, where I'm just sitting and thinking and rehashing, I think about it in the sense of, if this isn't going to matter in 5 years, then I'm not going to spend more than 5 minutes thinking about it. And that has really helped me be able to move on and then focus on the things that I really do need to spend my time on. And kind of seeing those setbacks, like Angel said, as opportunities, and then just saying, hey, it didn't go as planned, but I'm going to learn from it and then just move on. What's the next thing that I'm going to be focused on?
Wonderful. Okay, thanks, Nikki. Okay. And again, we have Shelly Williams.
Yep. When I think of the things that women get involved in, it's women always tend to have everything in place before we jump forward on something. You know, we have to, it's kind of like the syndrome where we have to clean our house before we go on vacation. Everything has to be in place before we jump in, and men just jump in. And if you think about it, 50% of our population in Indiana are women, and only 26% of them are represented in the legislature. And it's even worse at the federal level. So when I always think of why women hesitate to jump in, I sometimes think it's just because we always have to have everything in place before we do that. You know, some people won't volunteer to this extent. I know I didn't volunteer to this extent until my children were a little older. So I kudos to those who can do it when they're young. And I did jump in a little bit, but not to this extent. And I think that's one of the things I've learned along the way is that in my company, we've had to pave our way of what we want, but also in our volunteer work is the same thing, where I wish I wouldn't have hesitated. I've gotten a situation where someone else took a leadership role and they asked me to do it. And I said, no, it's not the right time, or things aren't in place. I'm not sure if I could handle that. I was really concerned about the paperwork that was involved, and the organization really, it really was detrimental to the organization that nobody was really stepping up. And I thought, why did I hesitate? And it took me about 1.5 to 2 years. And I said, you know what, I'll do it. And the organization has thrived. So I think one of the things I would encourage people to do is just don't self-doubt, don't hesitate, just jump in. We'll figure it out as we go. Someone said that already. And just be aware of the talent that we have and that we can bring to the table. If you're here at the table, you earn that right at the table. I think somebody said that the imposter syndrome is real, but the fact that we're even at the table, girls, means that somebody saw something and we have a voice and we should use it. So stop self-doubting. We us women can multitask. We're detail oriented. We can do things just as good or even better. And I think that's stop self-doubting and not hesitating is a good key thing to pass along to others.
All right, great. We're getting so much great advice, but we are down to like our last 5 minutes. And we do have one more question. So if each of you could take maybe just, a minute or less and really talk about our last question, which is, what advice do you have for the women watching today who might be interested in pursuing a career in your field? Is there a piece of wisdom you wish you had when you first started on your path? So let's start with Amy again.
So I would say great work ethic. You just have to have that. You have to put in the work to realize the reward. I had an employee who had a sign in their office that said, "Don't wish for it, work for it." And I love that. That is just so true. Always have an open mind, learn about your organization, your job, take initiative, put yourself out there, use your voice. Like I said before, that was one of the challenges I had. And above all, be accountable for you and to you. You get what you put in. So I just encourage those that want more, go out there and get it. It's there. Grab it.
Great. Thanks, Amy. Okay, Angel Suttle.
I would say I have 3 pieces of advice. I would say the strength lies in standing out and not blending in. So I think what makes you unique is what ultimately is going to lend itself to your success. Second piece is definitely invest in networks. You are going to be a representation of the people you surround yourself with. So your network is going to be key. So if you're young, early on, plant seeds, get invested, get involved, join nonprofits, join a faith-based organization, but just be able to be in position to network. You know, I'm on Hoosier Women Forward. I'm on the WBOI 89.1 FM board. I'm on the Women's Fund board with the Community Foundation. And I've been able to be in circles and surrounded by amazing people that have given me some great opportunities. And finally, you belong in every space that you enter. I think being able to stand truly in your confidence of who you are, no matter what atmosphere you're in, is going to be key to success. So that would be my takeaway advice.
Great, thank you. Okay, and Ciara Bolling.
Absolutely. Angel and Shelly both hit it nail on the head with you belong in the room. If you are there, you belong there. I think that's a big piece that I had to swallow. For me personally, staying authentic is very important in my field. There are always schemes that people can get into. There are always ways that people can cut corners. The most important thing for me personally, and in my exact field, is to remind myself that my ego has to stay out of this. This is not something where I can be like, I did it, look at me, look at me, look at me. I have a team that works with me. For what I do, I'm getting like helping people get resources to stay sober. And that is not up to me. I am leading them to the path. And there is a saying that says, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And my favorite part of that is it comes after that saying says, but don't drown the horse. And I have to remind myself that when my ego gets too big and I think that I'm the one that's steering all of this and it's not God, then I get off course and I start thinking that, you know, all of this pressure, nothing's going to come to fruition because I'm the one that's steering it. If I remember that I'm being placed and honored and gifted the opportunity to have this role and I keep my ego out of it, everything's going to fall into place. I can't make any mistakes. And I think that that is something that I wish I would have been told when I was younger, was that it's really not that serious. It will all work out.
Wonderful. Okay. Erica Hyatt.
I think the biggest thing is finding like your passion. A lot of you touched on different words, you know, being authentic, having confidence and stuff. And I think if you find something, and sometimes it takes a stepping stone to find something you truly feel drawn to that reinforces that passion. But I think through that, it comes with honesty and truthful and authentic relationships. So I think just finding a passion, something that speaks to you that is undeniable, is like essential. And then I think that truly finding a mentor. They don't even have to be in the same organization as you or same industry or whatever, but I think finding somebody that aligns with you or even can challenge you too, you know, a good little balance, but somebody who will push you, make you get out of your comfort zone a little bit, that just pushes and guides you, I think is super important too. So those would be my two biggest, you know, takeaways with all this.
Great. All right. And Nikki Quintana.
I have three takeaways, and they kind of fall in line with what a lot of the other women have said already. Again, don't try to be anyone else but yourself. Being authentic really goes a long way. I truly believe when you show up authentically, you're able to lean into your strengths, and people can tell when you're being authentic. And so that's going to help build real relationships versus just transactional relationships. And in my career, the relationship building has been so important. There's a quote that says, there's no one like you, and that is your superpower. And I fully believe that. Do not be afraid to put yourself out there. And I think that when it comes to making connections, when I first came out of law school, it can be intimidating, it can be uncomfortable, and have to call someone and say, hey, I'd like to sit with you and chat about this career opportunity or want to learn more about the business. But I just had to realize I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable and really just putting myself out there to make those real connections. And I think the last thing I would tell myself, or a younger person wanting to go into a particular career is, at one point I believed like all the professionals and individuals and mentors that I looked up to had it all together. I figured, man, they just know it all. They're amazing. How am I ever going to do that? But later, and now in my career, I realized that actually that none of us have it all together and all figured out, and that growth is constant. There's no like you've arrived and that's it. It's just you're continually pushing yourself to go further. And so I'd be very careful to put individuals on a pedestal and don't let someone else's successes, position, et cetera, intimidate you from pursuing your path. Because ultimately, your path is your path and your journey, and it doesn't have to be exactly like theirs.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. And Shelly Williams, you get to have the final word.
Oh, wonderful. See, it does pay to be last then. Everybody wants to pull you in a different direction because if you are everything that the women had said before, passionate and organized, and you do the work, and you have a good work ethic, and you show up, and we can multitask, and we don't have huge egos, and we do all that, people like to tend to pile it on us because we do all that stuff and we do it well. And so my biggest thing is don't let everyone pull you in different directions. Keep your eye on your goal. Don't necessarily take your eye off your own path just to satisfy someone else's path, because it's easy to do in politics. It's easy to do in our jobs. Everyone thinks it's your problem to do, XYZ. Well, as the owner, yes, it is, but there's people in place that are there to help you with that. So keep your eyes on your own path, and don't let everyone pull you in different directions. And a point of personal privilege, if I can, Jana Debusk was one of my 5th grade students, and she's in your 2nd hour. So I wanted to say hi. I feel like I remember saying to her someday with her and her parents, that girl's going to go far someday. And look, she's an influential woman as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Great. Wonderful. All right. Well, I haven't seen any questions come in, and our time is up. So I want to thank our honorees. You were all great. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to jump into our 2nd hour to hear from our next honorees. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Welcome back to the Influential Women of Northeast Indiana live chat. My name is Lisa Esquivel-Long, and I am editor of Greater Fort Wayne Business Weekly, and I'm going to be your moderator. So for the next hour, if you're just joining us, you'll have the opportunity to hear from interesting and diverse women who have made an impact in their career field and in nonprofit organizations in our local region. Many of them have also overcome difficult odds to do so. So we believe their stories will inspire you. We'd also appreciate it if you would consider sharing your Facebook page right now to bring more women into the conversation. We're holding this event in October, which is Women in Business Month, celebrated nationally and celebrated here at Business Weekly. At the end of the hour, we'll take questions from the audience as you watch, and feel free to go ahead and put those questions in during the chat that we have in the Q&A feature. So, or not the chat, but in the Q&A feature. Be sure to put those questions there. So anything that you have for the women. So let's begin. Let's introduce the women in our second group during this hour that you'll have a chance to hear from. So the first will be, we'll have Carly Ingalls from Carly Ingalls Piano. Then we'll have Jana Debusk from Play Vox by Nice. Jess Hopkins from First Merchants Bank. Kate Miller from Star Financial Bank. And Sarah Schenkel from Katz, Sapper, and Miller. Judy Rowe from Remax Results, one of our other influential women, wasn't able to be with us here today. So first up, we have Carly Ingalls. Carly, could you introduce yourself to us?
Hi, my name is Carly Ingalls. I am a local pianist and piano teacher here in Fort Wayne. And so my business is mainly, I perform as a pianist and I teach 45 students a week.
Wonderful. All right, thank you. Okay, and next we have Jana Debusk. Tell us about yourself.
Hello, my name is Jana Debusk. I'm currently working in tech, so I am a product operations leader, and it's a relatively new-ish field, but essentially it's taking the operations aspect of our product team in this remote global tech company and making it run smoother and aligned with product goals. I'm also a musician and a professional musician and educator as well. And I run the Fort Wayne Women in Tech meetup group. So I'm the organizer for that. And I'm the mother of a 5-year-old. And yeah.
So that's a lot to be going on. So thank you, Jana. So now let's move on to Jess Hopkins. Tell us about yourself, Jess.
Hi, I'm Jess Hopkins. I'm the regional sales manager for Fort Wayne in Michigan for First Merchants Bank. So I cover a territory that spans from Connorsville, Indiana, so about 2.5 hours south of Fort Wayne, all the way up to Detroit, Michigan. So I have 45 banking centers that I support within that footprint, as well as some additional levels of leadership within there. So I am also a mother who has 2 young boys of 9 and 11 years old, and then I have 3 stepchildren as well. I also have some board and committee memberships as well that I partake in.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jess. Okay. And next up, we have Kate Miller. Tell us about yourself, Kate.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Miller. I am the president of private advisory here at Star Financial Bank. Been with the company for almost 11 years. But I am a 3rd-generation family member of the Marcuselli family. So fun fact, the T and Star, all the letters in Star are named after our founders. The T and Star is my grandfather. So here from Indiana, originally from Marion, Indiana, have lived in Fort Wayne for quite some time now. Also have 2 children, an almost 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. And spend my time outside of work being a dance mom to both of them. So lots of travel around the region and lots of board service throughout the Northeast Indiana area as well.
Okay. And last but certainly not least, we have Sarah Schenkel. So tell us about yourself, Sarah.
Hi, everyone. Sarah Schenkel. I'm an audit director here at Katz, Sapper, Miller in Fort Wayne. Have the privilege of working with about 15 auditors in our audit practice in our office, but just help, with leadership in the Fort Wayne office, as well as
KSM overall. So from Fort Wayne, went to Manchester College. My husband and I have a blended family. We have 4 children that keep us busy with sports as well. So happy to be.
All right, great. Thanks. All right. The hour always seems to go fast. So let's get into it. Our first question that I'd like to pose to the panel. Our core purpose of this event is to inspire women to progress in their career, to hear how other women have become influential in their businesses or their communities, and to expand our audience's network of potential mentors. So please take a moment or two to talk about how you were able to become successful, what your greatest triumphs have been, and what your professional journey has looked like so far. So let's start with you, Carly Ingalls.
So becoming successful is a really, really complex thing in my field. Success can be defined on a lot of levels. So as a musician, small successes over time lead to the kind of growth that eventually becomes recognizable and becomes noticeable. And a lot of those successes are seen by no one. They build up over time. So, as a musician, it's been a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and a lot of learning from others. And over time, that turns you into the kind of player that is able to express yourself and be vulnerable and, be versatile and serve in many different roles, to be useful in many different ways as a musician. As a teacher, I, encounter a lot of different people, a lot of different students every single day. And, becoming successful as a teacher has required a lot of studying, learning, and getting to know each individual student. So you can't just have a formula as a teacher and go in and apply the same thing to every student that you work with. You have to get to know each one and understand how different types of people learn different ways and what the person in front of you needs right now. And, there's a lot of different ways you can market yourself and become known as a teacher and in demand and that kind of thing. But the best way is word of mouth, connecting with the students that you have and really taking the time to get to know people and be what they need from you. And as a business person, my greatest success has been being able to quit my job, my day job, and do this full time, and eventually even have another teacher that I work with who teaches under me, and to work fully for myself. And that's taken a lot of work with my networking skills. I have that's not naturally my strong suit. So talking to people, getting to know them, building connections. And that's something that I've had to work really hard on, is putting myself out there and being comfortable networking and connecting to others. Yeah.
All right, great. Thanks, Carly. Okay, next we have Jana Debusk.
All right, let's see. So how I became successful. Okay. I would say that the first thing is to recognize that growing up in the United States, I had privilege and enough opportunities around me available. So I want to firstly recognize that. We had enough food on the table. And from there, I would say that I have an incredibly optimistic and hopeful outlook on the world. And I traveled a lot with, not a lot of money in my 20s, but I traveled all over the world. And that really inspired me to lead the way that I would want to be led, right? So seeing all these different people all over the world with all of their different situations really opens up your mind and your heart to different situations. And I think that as a leader, that's incredibly important, to see people in these different situations. And like Carly was mentioning, she has different students, and each one needs a different way of teaching, right? So I think that's incredibly important in leadership, to really recognize that these are humans that we're around all the time, and how you speak to each human might need to shift a little bit, what they need in that moment is different. I also I am a talker and I am a networker. And I would say that a lot of my success was built because of the authentic connections that I've formed with people all over the world. The company that I'm at now, I actually was their English teacher about 5 years ago. I was a professor, I was a musician, and I was living in Colombia at the time, the country, and I was their English teacher. And then a couple of years later, there was an opening for a tech writer, and I just kept studying and growing my skills and growing my network to clearly go to the place that I wanted to go in this tech career, while also keeping my music alive and, of course, having a child. And so I think that those things are how I personally got to where I am today. As far as greatest triumphs, I think that I am most proud of creating space for the people that want to do certain things. And I do a lot of different things. So I have the tech world, I have the music world, I have the communications and writing world. And I like to create spaces in all of those worlds, sometimes individually, sometimes all together. And for people to feel safe to play and make mistakes. And I think that is the quickest way to growth is kind of accepting this space and having it be safe, psychologically safe, emotionally safe, just a safe place where people can grow. And so I think that has been my greatest accomplishment. Along with, I mean, let's talk about financials. I went from, a single mom with $400 to my name, and then grew financially as well. So in the last 4 years, now keep in mind where the salary that I was making as a university professor, for example, my starting point for this was not, a lot of money at the time, but I have quadrupled my income over the last 4 years. And I think that's important for us as women to talk about. So I am proud of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next we have Jess Hopkins.
Yeah, so I think for me, it started, coming from very humble beginnings. So I learned very early on from my mom, just watching her continue to try to raise a family, having two children, doing it on her own, that, you can achieve whatever you're willing to work for. And if you're not willing to work for it, then your opportunity to get there is probably a lot less. And so I took that early on into business and what I wanted to do. And so, going into the workforce and going into banking, right out of high school before I even started with my college degree, I really attribute my success there to four really basic things. So one is having that growth mindset and being willing to learn and being willing to listen, being very open to feedback. So as a young leader coming into a role, there are things you're going to do wrong. And there are things that you can do better and to connect with people better and to really motivate and drive. And that comes from being willing to listen to that feedback and take that positively, even when maybe up front it doesn't feel positive, but being able to take it as a gift and put it and implement it really quickly to continue to elevate and drive and work, with your team, putting your people first. So especially in banking, we know that, we have many banks across our footprint and we all have pretty much the same products, right? But what the difference is for our community and for our people is the people. And so putting them first and a focus on them really drives that want to connect in our community and be able to be more than just a financial institution, and then really tying it back to a higher purpose. So, obviously there's a piece of the profit that we want from a business perspective, but there's also a piece that comes to elevating our communities and making sure that we're helping people financially prosper and being able to tie that importance back to our people and to be able to live that mission and vision every day really is what I feel, drove me to my success. And when I think about triumph, I just look at my team and knowing that I can come into a room of bankers, that I can pull from Detroit to Connorsville, get them into a room and watch them just strategically work together and talk about their community and know the span of time between those two communities, and they're one. And so having that vision of being one for me is my triumph. And how I look at that is I'm helping them not only make a difference where they're at, but that we're one team together working for the same initiative.
Great. Thanks very much, Jess. Okay. All right. Next we have Kate Miller.
Yep. So I grew up in a very large family, both extended family and my immediate family. I'm the youngest of 5 children. And so I have 3 older sisters. And I remember hearing from an early age from almost everyone in my family that, hard work and dedication is what takes you the furthest in life. And they reminded me often that we each write our own story, and every choice we make along the way will shape our path for the future. And I learned, and I was constantly reminded, you don't have to be the fastest and you don't have to be the smartest, but you do have to show up every day as your authentic self, as your best self, and you've got to do the work. So, and in that work, we make mistakes along the way. There's obviously wins. We need to celebrate those wins, but we need to turn those losses into teaching moments and learn from them and keep moving forward. I think what has made me successful in my career really comes down to 2 things. First, I am willing to roll up my sleeves and understand the details in order to solve problems and to improve processes. I would never ask any of my teammates to do something that I am not willing to do right alongside them. And they all know that I'm here at any moment to help them with anything that they have encountered. And secondly, they all know, everyone here at STAR knows that I have an open door policy. And so they know they can approach me with their issues. They know they can approach me with their ideas, and I will consider them and actually try to implement those that are need to be implemented for the organization. And it doesn't mean I always agree with their ideas or that I'm on their side when they present an issue, but the ability for them to have open and honest conversations with me has allowed me to build trust in those relationships, and it's really, created a very strong team. And I think, my success is really because of the people around me and how hard they work for all of us to be successful together.
Great. All right. Thank you, Kate. Okay. And Sarah Schenkel.
Yeah, I think, in reflecting on my professional journey and some of my successes that I've had, I really don't see myself as being like super unique or special. I really just see myself as somebody who kept going and didn't give up and just tried to do their best every day. I think that mindset comes from growing up. My mom, something she always said to my sister and I, just do your best, and that's all anyone can ever ask of you. And that has really just been a really big influence in my life, something I tell my kids all the time. So I give a lot of credit to just that mindset. I also give a lot of credit to the mentors that I've had, both male and female, that I've worked with, who, saw my potential and pushed me into a new opportunity. Maybe because they thought highly of me, and believed that I could do it. Even when I was lacking belief in myself, I'm like, if that person thinks I can do it, I got to step forward in faith here. So just really giving a lot of credit to the mentors I've had over the years. The role that I am in now at KSM, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for a good friend of mine, Amy Lehrman, who she believed in me. She worked on me for 3 years to step out into this new opportunity and role. So really give a lot of credit there. And then also just, I feel like over the years, as my confidence has grown, I am not afraid to speak my mind. I think a lot of times, especially in a corporate situation, there's some groupthink that can happen, and just being willing to, maybe have a dissenting opinion, or, just being willing to share your thoughts and ideas, as appropriate, I think has really helped me be successful over the years. And it really is appreciated. I know it can seem scary sometimes, but especially as women in male-dominated industries, it can be hard to speak up and add your voice, but it is needed and it is appreciated in the end.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Okay. Our second question is this. Most women in business or who are in leadership roles have run into roadblocks, whether that be struggling with the work-life balance, feeling like people don't believe in you, or finding that you don't believe in yourself. Or it could be something completely different. Would you share with us some of the trials you have faced and how have you gotten past them? So let's start again with Carly Ingalls.
So when I first started all of this and wanted to make this the career that I got into, I just moved to Fort Wayne and I didn't know a soul. And the field is really dependent on you knowing people and you getting involved in things and being accepted, being known. And I really had no blueprint for myself for how to do that. And what I ended up doing was just saying yes to everything. Every opportunity, every gig, every student, every person who wanted to work with me, say yes, figure it out later. Even if I wasn't prepared for it or wasn't necessarily ready to do it, I would take it on and make myself ready. And the other, challenge that I've faced is a lot of burnout. So when what you do is, your passion, it permeates every part of your life. I'm married to another musician. My friends are musicians. It's all we talk about. It's all we do. And, I wake up, I teach, I eat lunch, I teach, I practice, I pack my stuff up and I go play the piano. And at a certain point, this thing that you started doing just for yourself, that because you loved it, becomes something that is required of you. And what you're doing is not necessarily always the things that you're passionate about, that you want to be doing. You're doing what you're getting paid to do. And so learning to separate that, to take time for myself, to take care of myself, to spend time with people in ways that, have nothing to do with music, with what I do, and to take time to practice my craft in ways that are meaningful to me. It keeps what I do relevant and authentic, and it keeps me engaged with what I'm doing.
Great. Thanks, Carly. Okay, Jana Debusk.
So I kind of touched on this last time, but I came back to Indiana about 5 years ago. I did, fifth grade because my fifth grade teacher was on earlier, and then middle school and high school here in Indiana as well. And then I left the state and the country for about 15 years. Yeah. So I came back, 4 months pregnant, $400 to my name, and a single mom. And I just had to figure it out. So I was living as a musician, I was living as a writer, as a teacher. And so I lined up, I lined up like a launch, essentially, if we want to talk tech terms, right? Like a project launch. And I said, I'm going to get into an interview for the university, and I'm going to line that up before I even leave Columbia. And so I had an interview lined up with Purdue from before I even got back to the States. I reached out to people. I shared my website. I shared the work and experience that I'd had. And from there, I just started devouring all the books that I could on all the things, right? Like if I don't have my time totally full, right? Like as somebody who is, for example, searching for a new opportunity or searching to see how to get to that next level, I need to inundate myself with information. If I don't have the resources, I need to find Facebook groups for single moms, for women in finance, for women in tech, for women doing whatever. Like this was my path, right? And so I reached out to everyone that I could, if I knew them or not. And I said, this is my story. This is what I hope to do. And these are the skills and experience I have behind it. Like, what can we talk about? And so I think that for me, in my path, again, everybody's path is extremely different. My major thing was destroying limiting beliefs surrounding what I can and cannot do, and using resources all over the place, reading all the right books and building the right network of people for your goals, for your situation. Who do you want to look up to in the future, and how do you connect with them in an authentic way? And then from there, I think it's just about being grateful for every situation that you're in, right? Like I am extremely happy with what I have built and with the people that I have surrounded myself with. I think that it's an exciting place to be. And I think that there's other places I want to go too. So while at the same time being extremely grateful for everything that I have, and not being ashamed to say, and I think my next chapter is going to be whatever. So I think that that's helped me a lot.
Great. Thanks, Jana. Okay. Next, we have Jess Hopkins.
Yeah, so I think for me, being that I'm a pretty self-driven individual with very high expectations for myself, regardless of the standard that anybody else is going to hold me to, mine's always going to be, 3 steps above that. And so not being willing to extend myself the grace that I expect, to send my people, as well as, the leaders that I have that are working with me to extend to their people, that almost doesn't exist for me at times for myself. And so what that equates to is, having all of these things, competing priorities, and then holding yourself to a standard that's not long-term attainable, and getting to a point of burnout, like someone else had mentioned. So, that's probably been the biggest thing for me, because, the drive behind it is I want to make sure that I'm, able to help those who need me, and be able to provide that guidance and whatever that support looks like, and never leave anyone feeling like I left them without something that they needed, but also being able to look at a situation and assess like what things really do need to be owned by me, and is there opportunity to be able to, have something that is for someone else, or not always saying yes to, every board that comes and reaches out to you, or every committee that, wants your input on something, and being able to use that as an opportunity, as a growth for someone else, if you know that there's opportunity for them to be able to step into that. So being able to build up others around you, as well as knowing your own limit and holding yourself to that standard, because at the end of the day, if you're burning yourself out, you're not bringing your best self to work, you're not bringing your best self at home. And what your kids see and what the people around you see is that, unrealistic expectation that you're holding yourself to, and then in turn feeling like, is that what is expected of me as well? So just knowing your limits and being able to have support around you that also is willing to call you on it. So I've got really good connectivity with the people I work with, as well as my husband, where, if I'm getting that point where I'm taking on too much, we have that comfort level of them coming to me and saying, you gotta pass some of this off. You're overextending, and, being able to take that with grace, and take that as someone who cares about you and wants to see the best for you, and really working that in. So extending yourself that grace, and putting those limits in place, and listening to those when they're coming to you and telling you to make some of those tweaks.
Great. Yeah, good advice there. Okay. All right. And next we have Kate Miller.
Yeah, I think, as women, we feel that we have to oftentimes work harder, try harder in order to prove our worth, or to prove why we have the seat at the table that we have. I feel like I've constantly told myself, work longer, run faster, simply do more, to keep trying to get ahead. And how that manifested itself for me was a complete inability to say no to anything. And for a certain period of my life, when I first started after college, and I didn't have a spouse and I didn't have children, that worked for me. And it took me very far in my career. But now trying to juggle, work life and being a mom of 2 young children, the schoolwork, the sports, all those other things that come with being a parent, they add up, and balancing all of those things, while trying to still save some space for myself, is a real challenge. And so a few years ago, I had the opportunity to pair up with a leadership coach. And that's been really a focus of ours for the time that we've been together, is just, finding ways to not do it all, to not always have to say yes, to protect, some space for yourself and for your family. And I don't think I've completely recovered from being a say yeser all the time. But really, I've come a long way in being more protective of my own time and energy, so that I can show up for those who need me both at work and at home. And I think, we've proven ourselves as, deserving the seat that we have at the table. And sometimes we've got to get out of our own heads and just show up and do the job and not try to prove it all the time.
Yeah, saying no is hard, for women who are trying to do everything. So, all right, thank you. Okay, and Sarah Schenkel.
I think one of the biggest things I've struggled with over the years, kind of through my success, is just, coined the term imposter syndrome, or just those feelings of inadequacy. And I think what's really helped me is like being keyed in to that negative self-talk or those limiting beliefs, like Jana said, like being able to quickly recognize that and flip the narrative, knowing that negative self-talk and those limiting beliefs are not going to serve you whatsoever. Just really having that realization, has just, like I said, really helped me to recognize that quickly and not, just let that linger. Putting myself in a position, to kind of hear stories of other people being vulnerable and sharing their, failures and how they've grown. I do that a lot through listening to podcasts. There's one, I listen to How I Built This with Guy Raz quite frequently, and just hearing like the stories of successful people who have led and who have built businesses, just seeing that most of them are kind of just normal people that didn't give up. They don't have these superhuman abilities. Just that realization was really powerful to me when I kind of realized that. And again, those negative, the negative self-talk, it's like, I'm just capable. So just, really having that growth mindset, which is the kind of the belief that you aren't born with all the traits that you need to be successful. Belief that you really can build your talents and potential over time, and that can be developed. It's just really been powerful for me, and it's kind of helped me overcome, like I said, some of those challenges that I've encountered over the way with feeling inadequate and just at different points of success over time.
Believing in yourself or not believing in yourself can sometimes, sabotage. You can sabotage yourself.
It's right. Huge. I spent too many years, I wish I would have come to that realization sooner. Yeah.
Right. But now you're here, and influential women, making sure other women don't make that.
That's right. Being vulnerable. Sure. Yeah. Hopefully this helps other people. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Our last question. What advice do you have for the women watching today who might be interested in pursuing a career in your field? Is there a piece of wisdom you wish you had known, kind of like what Sarah was just saying? Is there a piece of wisdom you wish you had known when you first started out on your path? So we'll start again with Carly Ingalls.
I'm sure I was actually told this and given this piece of wisdom, but I wish I'd taken it to heart, taken it more seriously. And it's that you need to find your own voice and your own style and your own path. Especially being, in a field, where it's very male dominated, there's a certain culture, and it felt like that culture didn't necessarily have space for me. And so, you work hard to emulate the people around you and fit in, and wonder, why am I not being treated the same way or given the same, seat at the table as people I see parallel to me that are getting that. And so you keep trying and trying to fit in and, project the same things that you see the people around you projecting. But it's your own voice and the things that you have particular to yourself that, you have to offer that makes you unique in the space. and we'll give you a seat at the table that, you know, your instincts and sensibilities and inclinations are the things that set you apart, and you have to lean into those and put those right out front.
All right, great. Thank you. Thanks, Carly. Okay, next we'll go to Jana Debusk.
Yeah, you stole mine, Carly. It's kind of similar. I would say that I obviously have a lot of interests. I think everybody has a lot of interests. I am not special in that. But I have followed through with a couple different big ones that don't really make sense together. So music and communication and tech seems very separated. But and I was always kind of told, well, you need to choose, like, which area are you going to focus on? And I battled with this because I'm interested in everything. I want to do everything all the time. But of course, saying yes to everything is not the way to prioritize, right? And so I don't know, listening to this, choose this path, and it has to be linear, and you have to move up a ladder of some sort, especially in the corporate world. If I wanted to do anything on that side of the spectrum, it just seemed like a roadblock. So I just kind of did what I felt drawn to, but I did it as much as possible. I did it in the most professional way possible. And over time, I started to realize that all of the paths that I took were actually the right ones. What led me to travel is what led me to start writing music, is what led me to start really digging in deeper on what was below that for me, which was communication. And communication is what led me to my tech career. And it all just kind of wove together in this very special way. But I think that it was because I was so dedicated to truly following my passions wherever they led me, and that is scary. And so, especially for my family, where are you going now? I'll come back, don't worry. So I would say, do not limit yourself to one path. Take whatever you are drawn to the most, and somehow it all is going to accumulate into the perfect career path for you. If you are really listening, really self-aware, and really dedicated to making those hard decisions, they'll lead you exactly where you need to be.
Great. Thanks, Jana. Okay. And next, Jess Hopkins.
Yeah, so a couple things I would say. So, don't be willing to compromise your authentic self. So, use your voice. Growth doesn't always come from being agreeable. So there might be times where you're going to challenge what's being said or the thought in the room. And, regardless of if it changed the end result, it's still a different thought process that if you don't bring it to the table, the opportunity is missed to potentially make a positive change. Taking that feedback as a gift. So I said that earlier, as you continue to grow, being willing to hear people out, whether it's, good, bad, and different, knowing where you have opportunity and recognizing that and being willing to hear that, because feedback is just as difficult to give as it is to receive sometimes. And then just always having the mindset of wanting to leave it better when you leave than when you got there, I think will help you stay true to who you are and really kind of stay focused on, what the actual mission or reason that you initially signed in to do whatever you chose to do, but making sure that you have that focus on, where you want to go. And, when you look back, is it better now than when you got there? And if it's not, then that tells you still got some work to do there.
Great. Thanks, Jess. Okay. All right. Kate Miller.
Yeah, I should start by saying I don't know that there's anyone out there that wakes up and says, you know what I want to do? I want to be a trust and estate administrator. We're very few and far between. Yeah. And it's not something I think anyone really thinks about until it presents itself to them. So to you. So if you are out there and you're thinking about doing this type of work, call me, because we always need people like you. But what we do really is, helping people, helping families build wealth over their lifetime. preparing them for retirement, and then, creating a plan to transfer wealth to the next generation or to charities, whatever the client is inclined to do. And it's a really, really rewarding field to be in, but not something I ever thought about until I considered coming to work at Star. But what I do know is we need more women in this field. The research shows that there's an overwhelming amount of money that's going to transfer between generations, given where we are with the aging population. And we know the impact that's going to have on women because we tend to live longer than our male counterparts. And so I would encourage anyone who is looking for a role in finance in general to consider wealth management as a career. When I first started in this field, I was really unaware of how difficult it was to talk to people about their wealth. And so the best advice I was ever given, and I think this really applies to any role, is to not try to solve the problem in the moment when you're talking to someone and they're explaining the issue they're having. But active listening is a true strength in my line of work. And oftentimes it's better to just admit you don't have the answer on the spot and take the time to learn that answer rather than try to make up something to impress someone along the way. Really, if you take the time to listen to someone and understand what they're trying to tell you, trust becomes the foundation of the relationship that you build with them. And trust goes a really long way in the field of wealth management.
Great. Thanks, Kate. Okay. All right. And Sarah Schenkel.
I think, having a challenging and rewarding career can definitely put stressors on your personal life, especially as a working mom. And I think maybe one of the things that I wish I had done sooner was really think about what is my highest and best use at home, right? Looking for things that maybe need to be delegated or outsourced and not being afraid to ask for help. I have been grateful to have the support of my parents and helping to raise my kids, and I have a supportive husband, but looking beyond that, what can be outsourced as far as cleaning, yard work, shopping, and I did the cleaning part. I outsourced my cleaning early on when I honestly couldn't really afford it. I just made it a priority and I moved things around in my budget to make that a priority. And I still have the same help for past 7 years. And I would not change a thing. It is one of the best investments that I have made. So I would just encourage everyone to think about what is your highest and best use and what can you outsource in your personal life.
Great. Thanks, Sarah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you to all of the influential women for sharing their stories and wisdom today. And thank you to all who attended. If you would like to watch this video again, check out fwbusiness.com next week. Don't forget, you can also read the influential women in a special section that we had. That was published in Business Weekly papers last week. Once again, thank you to everyone for attending, and have a great day. And this being filmed on October 31st, so happy Halloween. Thank you.